Welcome back to the Winterscape world of Frostpunk 2, where we're attempting to lead our own civilization and navigate through the political minutiae. We're also probably gonna freeze to death pretty soon if we don't get our lives together. I mean, either that or work on this stockpile of oil, but I don't have skilled enough workers to do that yet. Which means that these people are pretty much disposable to me, so I have no issue sending them up into the mountains instead to save some random schmucks. Now admittedly, one of the reasons my people probably aren't smart enough to know what to do with this oil is probably because I've been gatekeeping the tools and the knowledge. Apparently, the engineers in my city aren't very friendly with the rednecks, but I'm a generous leader. So that ends today. Although admittedly, it's a little bit more selfish than that. I just want them to be able to work harder in our brand new generator capable of burning oil, which should hopefully help us with our heating issues. Of course, it'd probably help if I actually gave people homes to get warm in too, instead of sleeping in the snow bluffs. Wait, what is this? Oh, well, that was fast. I literally just built them homes and they're already holding parades in my honor. I guess I probably should have done that sooner. Either way, now that my religious cult was parading around town spreading the joy of my name, I figure it's probably a good time to slip in a couple of police here and there to casually break into people's homes.
Here's Johnny!
Actually, I'm kind of concerned that those police won't be enough. I've played Frostpunk 1 before, and I know that people start to get a little upset when you introduce religion and police. So I think the best solution is probably even stronger police, right? Of course, a decision on this scale requires a lot of public approval and shouldn't be taken lightly, which is why I was forced to bribe everyone under the table and promised to build a logistics bay. Little do they know, I was going to build a logistics bay anyway. Although, I'm too broke to build one right now, which is why I think it's only fair that the Frostlanders who asked for this should also be the ones who pay for it. With this money, we were actually able to build a logistics bay and a survivalist headquarters, which meant that we could finally harvest all the oil from earlier. Meanwhile, back home, our religious rallies were going pretty well. So well, in fact, that people had been inspired to come up with a new way to make our heat last longer, which was obviously a no-brainer to pass in court. Although, for some reason, I was the only person who shared this opinion. Everyone else seemed to be against the law and forced me once again to make a concession just to get it passed. Thankfully, with that out of the way, I was back to dealing with the woes of leading a civilization, like our ever-increasing crime that is just spilling out of the icon now. I don't really know what to do about it except attempt to address the issue that I've never been able to fix: our severe lack of ceramic pots. I don't know why, but these people love their ceramic pots. If they don't have them, they lose their minds. I have to fill up half of this barren wasteland with pottery factories just to keep them happy. Honestly, it's probably because half of my citizens are willfully unemployed and choose not to work, instead sitting at home making ceramic pots and having a good time. The problem is that they have the audacity to blame me and say it's my fault for making it so easy to be unemployed. This can, of course, be solved by a little thing we like to call manipulating the public. You know, gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep. We simply send a religious militia to their front door with a brand new prayer that tells of the joys of being employed. Then they'll want to work subconsciously and think it was their idea. Now, of course, these new Christmas carols, let's call them, served a double purpose, which was distracting from the atrocities that I'm committing, like giving this lady a set of eyes off of a dead kid's body. I mean, he wasn't really using them anymore, I suppose, but it still looked pretty bad. And I had the opportunity to say no and stop them from harvesting the little boy's eyeballs, but like, where else are we gonna find free eyeballs? They're definitely not just lying around, and they're not back home at the Dreadnought either. Speaking of which, I've been kind of ignoring that place. Sorry, old Dreadnought. My gift to you is 2 more factories and exporting all of your oil back home to the main base instead of staying here. Now, back home where things actually matter, we were able to save a bunch of deranged women who had left our civilization, rummaged through some of our old belongings, and killed off a bunch of people in a weird cult ritual of ice. Wait. We never did anything like that. And nobody's gonna say anything about it. But what they will talk about is all the people we saved and our sick generator that has these upgraded injectors. In theory, these injectors should allow us to process our oil even better and potentially even produce a surplus of heat. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll spoil the ending. That's never happening. As soon as I installed these injectors, we enter a cold season. And with that came an even larger enemy. Something I thought we had left behind long ago in Frostpunk 1 was back again. the whiteout, which meant we were going to have to plan accordingly. This means taking in more survivors, scavenging supplies from the outside, and even setting up a future base in case things go south. However, taking in these refugees also had a negative effect. Just like any major city, an abundance of people also meant an abundance of crime and squalor, which began affecting our resources and production. So much so that they were being shut down by looters and vandals. If only I could make up a prayer about taking care of your surroundings and not being an asshole. Oh wait, actually the Faith Keepers already beat me to it. It looks like they've taken to just baptizing anyone they can find on the street in oil to distract them from our constantly decreasing stock of it. You know what? For that, they get promoted. Meanwhile, the Evolvers will be fined, publicly shamed, and of course, shaken down by the police who I've sent to their homes. You know, some people might say that I'm a cruel leader or that I'm biased, but the stories of my leadership were still reaching the outside, and they were actually incentivizing more people to come here. If only they knew what they were getting into. Of course, more people means more fucking ceramic pots, but that's fine. What was not so fine was the fact that as soon as these people showed up at our front door, my criminal citizens were already plotting ways to steal their jewelry for profit. Look, I can't deny that this is the nature of the people that I've raised, but like, guys, we have to pretend that this is a good place to be. Let me at least build them some homes first before you rob them. I mean, they're gonna need homes because looking at our generator here, that's a lot of bread. That means the oil that we already have is not enough, and we're nowhere near reaching a heat surplus. Admittedly, it probably doesn't help that the Faith Keepers keep on dunking newborns into vats of oil, but like, what am I supposed to do about that now? It's too late to stop them. Plus, I don't know, it gives them something to fight over and distract from the fact that I'm making them work doubles in the coal mines. Now, do these people actually need to pull doubles in the oil factories? Well, not really. Actually, not at all. In fact, these factories were only making about 80 oil a day each, which is exactly what this coal conversion machine can do. I have a stockpile of like 50,000 pounds of coal, with an extra 500 coming in every day that I could have been converting to oil this whole time, but I just didn't know that this existed. I only found out about it because I was trying to pass a law and the Frostlanders said that I should build it, which was actually a really good idea. So good that I said yes and then turned around and pretended like it was my idea, as all good leaders do. So, with this new form of energy researched and installed, I was able to turn off the emergency shifts and let everyone relax. Granted, that didn't necessarily mean we were in the clear, I was just trying to be nice. We were still very much scraping by. So, when these random outsiders had the audacity to walk up and act like they owned the place, I obviously told them to leave me alone. There was no way that I could get them 30,000 oil when I wasn't able to keep a single oil a day back home. This, of course, was not the answer that they wanted. So they threatened us with violence, which forced me to send my armed militia to their shantytown. To no surprise, when they showed up, the nomads instantly surrendered and allowed us to claim victory over the Frostlands. However, this show of violence, as well as many other things I've done up to this point, was probably not what the Evolvers wanted me to do, and they were growing unhappy with our civilization. They even tried to intimidate us with empty threats, which I openly ignored because fuck those guys. Now, unfortunately, one thing that the Evolvers are better than us at is not spreading contagion. While infected individuals should have stayed in quarantine, I had to listen to the Faith Keepers and let the sick and non-sick mingle, which led to a mother's death shortly after. But statistically speaking, in our civilization, it was most likely a Faith Keeper who died, so, I mean, they kind of did it to themselves. Of course, when I told them that, it didn't really make things better, and in fact made them pretty upset, which turned my entire screen into something that resembles a makeout session with Venom. In reality though, this wasn't anything I couldn't handle with a couple quick dunks in the oil vat and fulfilling a promise to the Frostlanders, which soon put us back on top and made us able to pass laws without even having to bribe anyone. Although I feel like this law was a bit of a ruse because as soon as I passed it, someone was accidentally killed. Something truly tragic happened that would make anyone else shudder, but for some reason, it made the same people who voted for the law very happy. So I think the Faith Keepers at this point are like a secret mafia that's developing in my city, but I mean, I don't know what to do about that. I mean, on the bright side, my crime was at an all-time low, so maybe the mafia is a good thing. Of course, by siding with the mafia and not repealing my law, it meant that people could continue to interact with the machines, and it ended up with some weird individuals who, well, you know.
Excuse me.
Oh no, that's the muffler molester. Somebody call Vin Diesel.
All jokes aside, the Frostlanders were not very happy that citizens were beginning to fall in love with their machines, so I had to pull out the big guns. The only way I could possibly win them back was if I literally ended slavery. But of course, on the same day that I did this, a once-in-a-lifetime weather crisis hit our city and forced everyone into their homes. Well, some of them were forced into their homes. Others still stood outside participating in the oil baptisms, which I can only imagine turned them into those hard-shell ice creams. But despite my relatively poor planning, which resulted in extreme lack of heating, as well as an all-time high of cold, disease, and squalor, the storm actually wasn't that bad for us. Some people even gave birth in these freezing temperatures, and pretty soon the storm was over. All that being said, according to the game, this was only the first of many storms. And even though the city was warmer than it had ever been, it was clear that this city would need to expand and better prepare for future storms, which is what we're going to work on in Chapter 3. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching, and have a great day.